Christ child. Please be seated. Okay, suppose I were to just kind of bust this story all to pieces for you today. How would that feel? How would that feel? How many wise men were there? We don't know. Thank you. There weren't three. We don't know that for sure. We don't know whether there were 1, 2, or 3 until actually the Venerable Bede, sometime between the year, 672 and 723, or whatever it was when he died. The great historian monk of England, the north of England, put together the story of the 3 wise men. Three wise men. What are the 3 names? Come on, help me. Melchior, Balthasar, Caspar. Melchior and Caspar were basically they were the white guys, and Balthasar was the black king, as it were. And this is all stories that came about later. They are basically midrashes. They are stories that are meant to describe or take a piece out of Scripture and then to make particular points out of them. And let's talk about that journey. Let's talk about the journey. They came from somewhere, probably the center of astrology in that particular part of the world in that time was over in the Babylon region, and there would have been scholars. These would have been the scientists of their day. And let's think about the nature of a city 2,000 years ago. What kind of light spill do you get in the night sky of cities in those days? You can't drive as if you're going across the desert in New Mexico. You can't drive for 50 miles and see the glow of Albuquerque in the sky, because they didn't have street lights as such in those days. It was dark. So they could go up on the roof of their houses and it would just be glorious. How many of you have had the wonderful experience of being out in desert and actually looking into the sky? Isn't that just the most amazing thing? It's like, where did all these stars come from? And they were very, very knowledgeable about this. They were constantly studying those stars. Back when I was still at the University of North Carolina, whose basketball team isn't doing as well this year, unfortunately.
Rebuilding.
They're rebuilding. When I was still at the University of North Carolina, I worked for a while in the Moorhead Planetarium, which is right on the campus in the Chapel Hill, and they do a program, or they did then a program at Christmas time, describing to us exactly what could have happened in that sky those low 2,000 years ago. This kind of star that they were talking about. They talked about these wonderful events which took place in the sky. Then they would show you the alternatives and so on and so forth of what was going on. Suppose that I told you that somewhere around the time of the birth of Jesus, there was some kind of a configuration in the stars. Actually, it would have been probably planets that aligned themselves in a particular way. And that was what the astrologers saw. And the sky was divided by basically kingdoms and parts of the known world at that time. And if something happened in that part of the sky which was dedicated to the Hebrew people, then there would be some reason to get up and go, there must be something really fancy or big going on. And it looks to me like, based on that particular configuration, it's a big deal. Must be the birth of a king. So they come in this large caravan across the desert, which would have taken not 6 or 7 days. It would have taken a long time. And it would have been a big deal. There would have been camels and servants and the magi, the wise persons, the knowledgeable scientist persons, and they would have brought the traditional gifts that were brought to a king: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The symbolism of the gold and the frankincense and the myrrh also come later. They come later. They probably come out of the followers of Jesus Christ, and they're ways of describing the nature of the power of the presence of Jesus Christ in their lives. They are making a theological statement when they assign these meanings to the gold and frankincense and myrrh. The frankincense and myrrh actually come from the part of the world that the Queen of Sheba came from. It just meant that these were very rare and expensive gifts. They come to, where would they come to? They would come to the seat of government among the Hebrew people, which was where? Jerusalem. And of course, Jerusalem is not as big as Grand Rapids. It's not probably as big as Wyoming. It may be as big as Byron Center and maybe Kentwood. Who knows? 20,000 people probably. So here they come in and they would have made their mark. The whispers, look, here come these emissaries from the east, and they're bringing all this stuff, and there must be, so that would have been interesting, to say the least. They go to Herod, and Herod goes, king, am I not still the king? And do I not have some kind of an understanding of who's like next in line? Herod was very good at taking care of those persons who were next in line. I think he killed his wife and two at least of his children. He made sure that whoever was going to be the follower was someone with whom he could agree. All of this, suppose I told you all of this stuff, would that make a difference to you about this story? Would it? And then, of course, let's go from the palace of King Herod over to Bethlehem. Now we're talking. Bethlehem's a big city. Big city. It might have been as big as this. It was small. It was small. So if a caravan comes into town and and they're going, we're looking for a king, we're looking for a baby, we're looking for, and Mrs. Gamaliel would say, oh, well, yeah, Joseph and his wife have a kid, and there's another kid over there. Would that make a difference? Suppose I told you all that. And they brought these things over to this child. Suppose I told you that. Would that make a difference to you? Suppose I wondered in my heart and then said to you out loud, suppose I wondered, well, wait just a second. Wait just a second. They're bringing these things to honor a child who is reputed to be a king, and this child is in the meanest of conditions, and I mean that in the most divine way, that he is in poverty. He is clearly, his mom and dad are not of the extreme wealth that was known in those days. They were probably not the 0.05% of people. And yet, these wise men still went to this child and still gave this child these gifts. Is that not interesting? Would that make a difference? Suppose I told you that. Would it make a difference? If I told you all of those things, if I explained all of these things to you, if I found some kind of an intellectual argument about the historicity of this event, if I tried to do that to you, I would be missing the point completely. I would be missing the point completely. And the fact is, I believe that you all actually have the point, that you get the point. We have this juxtaposition of the rulers that exist now against that which is to come. We have the juxtaposition of what exists now, the power structure now, and what is to come. And that power structure, in hearing of what is to come, feel uncertain and fearful because they do not participate in what is to come. This is a prefiguring moment, if you think about it. What happens at the end of Jesus' life? Who does Jesus confront? Who is confronting Jesus? It is the power of the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, and the leadership of the government, the Roman leadership. This is all there. And this is all what this is about. And these wise men bring something with them. That star is significant. We are meant to believe that star did guide them, that light did guide them across that stretch of desert, that they did see something important in all of this. And what did they see? They saw the active hand of a loving God. That's what the star means. That's what it is about. That is why when you look up and I see the light. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Is that not what that is about? And what does the light mean to you? What does that mean to you? What does it mean to you? I have used this expression before any number of times. But when you look at a candle, you see more than just the light of the candle. You see the glow of the candle. You see the glow of the candle. And what causes that glow is the same thing that causes the twinkling of stars at night. Oh, there's a connection. The twinkling of stars at night is caused by an inner fire, an inner life, an inner energy that cannot be hidden once the candle is lit. It cannot be hidden. And it defines the nature of the light. And what we have in Jesus is the light of God. And all of those glows, all of those halos that we see in all the wonderful paintings around the head of the mother and the father and of that baby, all of those things demonstrate an inner fire, an inner reality, an inner life. And here is the beauty of this moment. This moment is when the world put our candles together and took our light from that one. That's what Epiphany means in the theological sense. That's what this event is about. When we put our candles to that light, and then the glow of God somehow fans the flames within us and becomes evident through the glow of how we live out our lives to the whole world. Wow. See, one of the blessings that I have in this profession, this calling to come and have the privilege, and I promise you, it is a real, genuine privilege that scares me on any number of occasions, and for which when I go away on Sundays, I sometimes wonder how it is that you still permit me to stand here on a Sunday morning. One of the privileges that I have is I can see the light of the Star of David. I can see the light of God in you. I get to stand here and see it. And I invite you to let your light so shine before the world that it may see your good works and glorify the Christ child from whence it came.